If I told you that there exists a person on this earth for whom the world's most powerful nation had to chase for an entire decade, how would that make you feel? Not just a decade of waiting, billions of dollars were spent and thousands of intelligence agents were deployed. And the man for whom all this effort and arrangement was made, his name was Osama bin Laden. In today's video, we will learn how the son of a Saudi businessman became the world's most wanted person and how America, after 10 long years of trying, finally found him. The man whom the United States had to fight relentlessly for 10 years was not always like this. Osama bin Laden was born in 1957 in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. He was the son of Mohammed bin Laden, one of Saudi Arabia's wealthiest businessmen. His father was one of the most influential real estate developers in the Middle East who worked on massive mega projects alongside the Saudi royal family. What makes it even more remarkable is that his father had risen from being an ordinary Yemeni immigrant, and that very family eventually became one of the richest families in Saudi Arabia. Osama was one among countless children in the family. He was the 17th among more than 50 siblings. It may seem surprising, but despite being born into such a vast family, Osama was from a very young age an extraordinarily quiet and reserved individual. In his childhood, he studied at elite schools in Jeddah. Despite being born into a wealthy family, the luxurious lifestyle had little influence on him. Instead, he was increasingly drawn toward religious education and Islamic ideology. Even as a teenager, his thinking leaned toward religious politics. Alongside his studies, he trained himself in horse riding, hunting, and adapting to the harsh life of the desert, which set him apart from his siblings. While his brothers and sisters were busy with luxury and business, Osama was completely different. From a young age, he believed that life was not meant merely for comfort, but that one should live for a greater purpose. Because of this unusual personality, his siblings kept him at a distance. When Osama was just 10 years old, his father passed away unexpectedly. From that point on, a deeper transformation began within him. The young Osama, now without his father, slowly began drifting into a mental world unlike anyone else around him. Think about it, one among more than 50 siblings, with wealth, luxury and education all within reach, and yet he did not become like any other son of a rich business family. Instead, he chose an entirely opposite path. Few could have imagined that this shy, devout boy would one day become the most talked about and, by many accounts, the most feared name in the world, Osama bin Laden. The turning point in Osama's life came in the 1980s when a terrifying war broke out in Afghanistan against the Soviet Union. In 1979, the Soviet Union sent troops into Afghanistan. In the fight against the Soviets, many countries, especially the United States and Saudi Arabia, secretly supported the Afghan Mujahideen with money and weapons. This war became one of the defining chapters of the Cold War, and it was here that Osama bin Laden entered the picture. Osama was young at the time, but he had enormous wealth and family influence at his disposal. He began supporting the Mujahideen in Afghanistan not just financially, but by building infrastructure for the war effort, training camps, bunkers, roads, and tunnels. What is remarkable is that the son of a construction tycoon, someone who could have lived a life of luxury, instead personally traveled through the mountains, building bases for the fighters with his own hands. In the beginning, he only provided financial support, but gradually Osama took up arms himself and joined the fighting. This caused the Mujahideen warriors to see him in a completely different light. His courageous presence and organizational ability earned him recognition as a leader among the Mujahideen. Many young fighters began to follow him. When the Afghan war finally ended, it seemed as though everything might settle back to normal, but in reality, the exact opposite happened. Because right after that, a new organization was born, one whose name is still debated and criticized in history, one that still sends shivers through the nations of the Middle East. I am talking about Al-Qaeda.
In 1988, before the Soviet forces left Afghanistan, Osama bin Laden and a few of his close associates founded Al-Qaeda, an Arabic word meaning the base. This organization was formed to give a permanent structure to the network built during the Afghan war. In essence, it was a platform where battle-hardened fighters could gather and plan for the future. From the very beginning, Al-Qaeda's primary objective was to reduce American military presence and Western influence in Muslim lands. Particularly in the 1990s, when US troops were stationed in Saudi Arabia, Osama viewed this as completely unacceptable. In his eyes, the presence of foreign soldiers on Muslim soil was a form of occupation. Al-Qaeda was not merely an organization, it became an international network. Training camps were established along the Afghanistan-Pakistan border, where young men from various countries secretly came to receive training. It is reported that during the 1990s, hundreds of fighters learned combat tactics, weapons use, and communication strategies at these camps. Not only that, Al-Qaeda gradually built a global communication system, spreading its influence across Africa, the Middle East, and even Europe. As unbelievable as it sounds, much of Al-Qaeda's funding came through business networks and under the cover of charitable organizations. While they were publicly presented as charities or aid organizations, large sums of money were secretly funneled into clandestine operations, and the outside world initially failed to understand just how vast a network was being constructed. This is how Al-Qaeda was born, and it would later become entangled with some of the most significant events in world history. In time, this network became America's greatest headache. As part of that headache, on August 7, 1998, simultaneous explosions struck the US embassies in two East African countries, Kenya and Tanzania, on the very same day. Within minutes, chaos spread across both cities. For the first time, the United States clearly declared that behind this attack was Osama bin Laden's network, Al-Qaeda. From that point on, the name bin Laden began making international headlines. But that was not the end. In October 2000, a small boat attacked the USS Cole, a US Navy warship anchored off the coast of Yemen. That incident too sent shockwaves through the United States. Then, exactly 1 year later, came the day that would change world history forever. On September 11, 2001, the most devastating terrorist attack in history took place. 4 passenger planes were hijacked, 2 of them slammed directly into the World Trade Center towers in New York City. In moments, the towers collapsed. That horrifying scene was witnessed on television by billions of people around the world. Investigations revealed that the mastermind behind the attack was Osama bin Laden.
Immediately afterward, President George W. Bush addressed the media, and the United States launched the longest and most expensive manhunt in history. After this event, there was no doubt left. Osama bin Laden became the primary target of the United States as the world's most wanted man. Even just a few months before 9/11, his name was not widely known across the globe. But after the attacks, the US placed a bounty of $25 million on his head, one of the largest reward announcements of that era. Through one event after another, Osama bin Laden transformed into one of the most sinister figures in the eyes of the world. Immediately after the 9/11 attacks, America rose to seek revenge. President George W. Bush declared the War on Terror. For the first time in history, the full military might of the United States was directed at a single individual, and that individual was Osama bin Laden. In October 2001, the United States and its allies launched military operations in Afghanistan. The Taliban government collapsed quickly, and everyone hoped that Osama would finally be captured. But astonishingly, he escaped, fleeing into the mountainous eastern regions of Afghanistan. US forces were nearly certain he was hiding somewhere in those mountains, but the rugged caves and the complex geography of the border region allowed him to vanish right before their eyes. And so began a long, exhausting search.
The CIA, FBI, and international intelligence agencies worked together and still could not find him. Technology, satellites, and drones were all deployed, yet not even a shadow of him could be found. By late 2007, the CIA obtained a new lead. Among the key pieces of intelligence was information that Osama did not remain entirely cut off from the outside world. His messages reached the outside world through a handful of trusted couriers. The CIA identified one of those couriers, a man known as Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti. The CIA then began tracking this individual, operating on the assumption that whoever he regularly met with could lead them to the real target. Finally, in 2010, intelligence operatives discovered a peculiar compound in the Pakistani city of Abbottabad. It was surrounded by high walls on all sides, with no internet or phone connection inside, and the residents had no contact with the outside world. Most strangely, a tall, bearded man was often seen on the compound's terrace, but he was never captured in a photo or on video. This unusual level of security confirmed the CIA's suspicion. The person hiding inside this compound was Osama bin Laden. During his time in this compound, Osama neither had internet nor a mobile phone. He learned about the outside world through an old television set and information delivered by couriers. Even when his sons went outside, they never used phones, because the slightest mistake could have invited an American drone strike. On the night of May 1st, 2011, while the entire world slept, two specially modified helicopters moved silently through the skies above Abbottabad, Pakistan. On board were the elite warriors of the U.S. Navy SEAL Team 6. Their mission was singular: to capture or eliminate bin Laden. The operation was given the code name Operation Neptune Spear. After months of surveillance, the CIA had chosen this particular night. At around midnight local time, the helicopters descended near the compound, but suddenly one of the helicopters suffered a technical malfunction and crash-landed. Such an incident at the very start could have derailed any mission, but remarkably, the SEAL team calmly managed the situation and the operation continued. The soldiers swiftly entered the compound and began searching every corner of the building. In a night of relentless action, 10 years of hide-and-seek came to an end in just 40 minutes. American soldiers found Osama bin Laden, and he was killed. Shortly after, President Barack Obama formally announced that bin Laden had been eliminated. Though the exact details of how he died vary across different accounts, some say a shot to the head, others describe it differently. What is certain is that on that night, the chapter of bin Laden came to a close. But immediately afterward, another controversy erupted. U.S. officials announced that, in accordance with Islamic rites, bin Laden's body had been buried at sea within 24 hours. This decision sparked questions across the entire world. Why at sea? Why in such haste? Why was no photograph or video released? A massive compound had been constructed in a military-controlled area like Abbottabad, and yet nobody knew about it? Is that believable? Many believe that some influential figures within Pakistan may have known. Others argue that the entire operation took place without the knowledge of the Pakistani government. But regardless of what the truth may be, one thing can be said with certainty. In just one single night, a 10-year historic manhunt came to an end. The most wanted person on the planet was found in a silent midnight operation. But the debate lives on. Whether what the public was told about the operation is exactly what happened, or whether there are far deeper mysteries hidden behind it, still unknown to us, remains an open question. Dear viewers, that's all for today. I hope you learned something new from this video. And to receive more such unknown and interesting videos, please subscribe and stay with us. Thank you.